The situation just got crazier for the New York Jets as there's been a lot of reports about the New York Jets having interest in trading up for that first overall pick to draft a quarterback. Meanwhile, now with an even crazier situation coming out, the New York Jets are not the only team that's interested in it, and they're not the only New York team. And on top of all that, a New York Jets and Giants insider has revealed a major update on this as well. So a lot to talk about, guys. What's up? Welcome back to Jets Digest. It's Chris and Matt here, and we're going to jump right into things as always. And guys, if you're enjoying the channel, if you're having fun watching this, make sure to subscribe if you're part of that 79%, 75% that's not 75.9. So you know what, guys? I technically wasn't fully wrong. But if you're part of that, make sure to subscribe, or I'm going to keep getting things wrong on this channel, and then I'll get sad, and Matt will beat me with a rake again. So don't let that happen, guys, for my sake. But as many fans have heard by now, the New York Giants and New York Jets are both interested in moving up for that first overall pick, according to Dan Graziano from ESPN. Now, look, obviously, we've heard a lot of noise already about the Jets potentially having interest in moving up to that first slot. And it's been a lot of debate on if the Jets actually are interested in doing this and are in dire straits for wanting a rookie quarterback this year, or if this is more Darren Mougey just doing his homework on the sheer fact that he believes the Jets can move up. And we actually will talk a little bit about the fact that the Jets, they'll have the opportunity to. But taking a look at what New York Jets and New York Giants insider Connor Hughes said about this, he revealed that he'd be very surprised if the Jets traded up to the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Sources he touched base with in Indianapolis, who met with the Jets at different points, believed a veteran like Justin Fields, Carson Wentz, and Marcus Mariota, video coming on that, they all, day 2 rookie and Tyrod Taylor were more likely a combination that the Jets would go with, overtaking a quarterback and trading up for the first overall pick to do so. That could shift if Darren Mougey and co. become enamored with Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward. And from Hughes' understanding, talks with Tennessee are more due diligence than an impending deal at this time. So it is important to note that at the end of the day, there is a high likelihood this was just Darren Mougey doing his homework, believing that they could acquire the first overall pick. And even if they traded for the first overall pick, Matt, which we've talked about, if we think the Jets are leaving that 7th overall pick, it is not to move up in the draft. It's to move down. And more than anything, it feels like it's just Darren Mougey checking it out to see what the first overall pick would cost. There's no guarantee he'd even pick a quarterback with that pick. There's a chance he'd still go defense or go Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter. There's a bunch of different options that they have that's very far from just taking Cam Ward.
That's a great point that you just made that people are discounting right now. If the New York Jets trade up to the first overall pick, there is no guarantee that Cam Ward is the guy that they're going after. Now, if part of that deal is our first round pick for next year, then it would become incredibly more likely that that trade up would be for Cam Ward. But Abdul Carter is still a transformational prospect, generational. You got Travis Hunter as well. Those are the guys that they could be targeting. But the guy releasing this report, Dan Graziano, very credible source. So this is definitely real. This is not a fake source, a fake story. The New York Jets definitely have interest in moving up to the first overall pick. The question now is how much interest do they have? Because, of course, however much interest they have is what is going to determine how much draft capital they will offer to send up to the first round pick. You know, for example, it could be they have only a little bit of interest, and they're just thinking, oh, if it costs us, a 3rd round pick this year and a 4th round pick next year for the first overall pick, then sure, we'll do it. It's called due diligence, like you said. They're just calling up. They're asking, they're trying to figure out how much that pick is worth just to give Darren Mougey the full picture of all of his options, and so he can figure out everything that he can possibly do to figure out the best way to go to build out this team to make it as strong as possible. Now, of course, all of these mock drafts we're seeing they all showcase the New York Jets giving up a ton of draft capital to move up to the first overall pick. Me and Chris absolutely not on board with this. So, Cam Ward, yes, he's a good prospect, but I'm not throwing away our first round pick next year and what is no doubt going to be taking multiple seconds as well as a top 10 pick this year to go out and acquire Cam Ward. This team has more picks that need to be made. They have more holes that need to be filled. They need those draft picks to give them the opportunity to address other spots on our roster. Just Cam Ward is not going to fix what this team needs. Shedeur Sanders was also in this report. If we trade up for Shedeur Sanders, that would be very disappointing. The buzz on Shedeur Sanders every single day seems to be he is viewed in a little bit worse light by more and more people. I'm seeing qualified people on Twitter, X, calling him the earliest he can be taken is 6th overall to the Raiders. That wouldn't surprise me because he doesn't have an elite arm, so I'm not sure why you would draft him higher. But we've heard the entire season, regular season of the college football season, that Shedeur Sanders was going to be drafted very, very highly. But as we're going through the pre-draft process, people are realizing that he doesn't have the traits that they're looking for, and that's lowering Shedeur Sanders down the board. So if the Jets trade up for him, that would be very, very disappointing. Hopefully, like you said, we either stay put or what I would love to do, trade down in this year. Next year, we would acquire more draft picks to potentially move up in 2026 if we have to, or we might be high enough to take the quarterback of the future right there, depending on how this season goes.
Yeah, I think, I'll be honest, I'm kind of, and maybe it's the wishful thinking that I agree on, I kind of think they're going to trade down. That's the feeling I'm getting from all this, because you know they want more picks, this new regime, than just one in the first 40 picks in the draft. You have one pick in the first 40 selections as a team picking 7th overall. They're going to want more assets than that. You know Darren Mougey's going to want more to do with that. It makes more sense to move down and try to then take some assets and move yourself back into the first round. I mean, there's been a ton of noise that maybe the Jets would want to trade back into the first round to end up landing a rookie quarterback at the very end of it, at the end of day one. If they were to do that, they would have traded down and then have the, I don't know, let's say the 14th pick, just to pick a random number in that 10 to 20 range. On top of that, then use whatever other assets you got to trade back into that first round if they want a quarterback that they fear won't be around, like a Jalen Milroe or a Jackson Dart. If they want badly enough, they will pick him in the first round. Again, I think it's likely they'll end up trading down. I think it's unlikely they'll trade up, especially in regards to when it comes to quarterbacks. Something else that Connor Hughes mentioned, Matt, that we have to discuss is the fact that Hughes had someone come up to him and basically sum up the quarterbacks in this class, and he said this is the way he can't stop thinking about it, and this fits the way that we've kind of talked about this as well. He said the teams picking 1 and 2 need quarterbacks, yet both are willing and actively want to trade down. That is really weird. So if the Jets, think about it this way, is kind of what my interpretation is. The Jets know that both the Browns and the Titans are willing to move down. Darren Mougey's probably just checking up on prices, and if he sees a price good enough where he can be like, hey, let me solve the issue of DJ Reed leaving and there not being a legit wide receiver 2 on this team, all in one, by trading up to the 1st overall pick and drafting Travis Hunter. It feels like no one's discussed the fact that the Jets have multiple holes to fill, and if they wanted to trade up to the 1st pick, they have a way to potentially fill 2 of those holes, at least fill one of them, definitely cornerback, at an elite level. It makes more sense to me that the Jets could likely be interested in trading up just to pick someone else who's not a quarterback even.
Dude, you got me smiling now. That would be so much fun. If they were trading up for Travis Hunter, that would be insane.
I
Travis
think you'd
Hunter,
scream louder than when you did when we obviously living in the same house. We watched the 2022 NFL draft. You wanted Garrett Wilson, and because I refused to get off Twitter, I knew it was happening.
Dude, that was sick.
The way you screamed, dude, would it be a bigger reaction if the Jets if they came out, they traded up for 1st and picked Travis Hunter?
Definitely, because I would be absolutely terrified that they were going to take Cam Ward. So if they got Travis Hunter instead, and if they passed on the, as far as 1st round pick quarterbacks go, not great prospect, and Cam Ward, and take one of the best prospects we've seen in the past couple of years, someone that we have never seen anything like him, and he's coming to the Jets. Someone who I've watched every single college game he's played over the last 2 years. I've missed 0 of them. Oh, yeah, I would be all on board for that. However, the only problem is, unfortunately, he's still not worth the price that it would cost to trade up for him.
That was my next question.
Living in a world where the New York Jets have already traded up for that first overall pick, I would be very excited to draft Travis Hunter. And it's crazy how if it wouldn't be Travis Hunter, and it wasn't Cam Ward, it would be my other prospect that I have been following all year and really liked, who was supposed to be getting drafted in the 20s to start the year, but is now getting mocked drafted at number 1, 2, or 3. Funny how that works.
Well, honestly, you look at things and it feels like there's just a world that the Jets are doing this to see if they could probably get a first or a second overall pick on some sort of a discount, knowing that the Browns and Titans are willing to move out. I would guess, I mean, maybe it's wishful thinking, but that's the smart thing that a franchise would do. I would guess that's what Darren Mougey's up to, is he definitely took an interest in the first or second overall pick and trading up. Not necessarily for Cam Ward, maybe for Cam Ward, but at the same time, very likely just because he was like, hey, these teams want to trade out. Let me see what the market is like right now. Even if it's just to know for next season what the market was being set at. Obviously, much different. Arch Manning's just going to... The draft market will obviously switch all the time with trades because it depends on who the number 1 overall prospect is. But with Arch Manning coming in, it'll just reset it insanely high. So it's potentially just Darren Mougey doing his due diligence, or that's what I'd guess it is. Do you think there's any water being held to this at the end of the day, like that there's a world that they trade up? I just don't think it's happening. I think they're trading back.
Yeah, like I said before, I definitely think they have interest in trading up, but at the end of the day, no. I think it's going to be too expensive to actually execute the trade up, and I'm happy with where we are in the draft. I think number 7 still gives you the opportunity to draft an elite prospect, even if they're not in that super, super elite tier with Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. I'm very happy taking a guy at 7.
So am I. I am excited to see how this all goes down. And guys, we will not shut up about it. So make sure to subscribe, like this video, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Jets.